I'm tooting my own horn, shamelessly. Hello, I'm Kristen, also known as Voolenvine, here on my YouTube channel, on Instagram, on Ravelry, and pretty much everywhere else on the interwebs. And as always, I'm so happy that you're taking some time out of your day to chat about all the knitting, all the sewing, all the making, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I have been diving down this week. And yes, I've fallen down several rabbit holes in the past week or so. So if you tuned in last week, I announced that I am embarking on a kind of a passion project of sorts called Project Edwardian, as I'm lovingly calling it. And yeah, that is where I endeavor to sew myself an entire Edwardian, historically accurate as possible wardrobe for myself, or outfit, so to speak. As you can see, there's an elephant in the room, which I'll chat about that, and also Project Edwardian in the sewing segment of this episode. But many of you lovely viewers were so excited for it that you said that you are also going to embark on this journey with me, so I'm here for it. And it got me thinking that, yeah, how cool would it be for us to do a year-long make-along where we all just sew historical garments. There's not going to be a specific time frame. It can be whatever era, time period that appeals to you. But in the spirit of making it historical, I'm gonna say the cutoff is the 1950s. So anything before then is welcome. So, have at it. You can sew, you can weave, you can knit, you can whatever you want to do, as long as you can justify that it is historical or vintage or inspired by some period in history, be it the 50s, 40s, 30s, and before, Regency era. Just have fun, and I'm happy to have you all along with me for the ride. And of course, I am going to create a thread over in the Ravelry group, the Voolenvine Ravelry group, which of course is always the place to be if you want to hop in on these make-alongs, knit-alongs, sew-alongs, and enter to win giveaway prizes and just cheer each other on and just look for inspiration. It's a really, really fun place to be, and I highly recommend that you check it out. But yes, I will be creating a thread for the historical make-along, as I shall call it. The history mal. I think that's more appropriate. Histomal just sounds like a disease or something. Or a medication to fight a disease. I don't know. But anyway, we're going with history mal. Oh my goodness, rare form again. But since we are on the topic of make-alongs, knit-alongs, the PractiKAL or PractiMal is coming to a close. So while February is pretty much over, I'm not going to lock the thread and choose a giveaway prize winner until right before I record the next episode. So you still have time, small projects that you want to enter to win. And of course, the giveaway prize is going to be a skein of Voolenvine yarns, hand-dyed yarns, my hand-dyed yarn company, in a colorway of your choosing. So hopefully that is exciting, and some other goodies as well. So yes. All right. That said, I think that is it for announcements this week. So just a quick word from my lovely and amazing sponsor, Skillshare, and I will get back to you on the other side and let you know what I've been working on. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, tech, and more, even sewing and the fiber arts. I love learning new things when it comes to knitting, sewing, photography, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down. And because I know you love learning new things too, I partnered up with Skillshare, and they are offering my viewers 2 months free to try their platform. So give Skillshare a go and learn something new. Just click on the link in the description box below, entering the code at checkout, and enjoy. And thanks, Skillshare. And welcome back. All right, guys, I have another finished object to share with you this week. I finished another pair of socks. Who am I? I have no idea. But yeah, last week I shared a half object with you. I finished one sock and I had already started the second sock. And clearly I've been getting a lot of TV knitting done. Dennis and I just hang out and watch the Marvelous Miss Maisel at the end of the day after dinner. And I've just been happily knitting away on these socks, and lo and behold, in under a week's time, I have a finished pair. I don't want to say my sock knitting mojo has returned, but at the same time, I feel compelled to cast on another pair because I don't know what it is. As soon as you're done knitting one pair of socks, it's only natural to want to cast on another pair, because I want to say, like, sock knitting has been just really nice, enjoyable, relaxing knitting for me at the moment. It's just something that I can reach to and I don't have to pay attention to what my hands are doing. It's just, I just go on autopilot when I knit a pair of socks. And, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, Dennis and I, we watch TV together, and it's just something to keep my hands busy while, you know, while we spend time together. Yeah, so I don't know. I might cast on a pair of socks later on today. I don't know what yarn I'm gonna use, but you know, it'll give me a chance to browse through stash and possibly use up some of my stash that's been long languishing, and I'm completely rambling at this point. But yes, the yarn that I used, I should probably talk about the yarn. It is Bergere de France. They're Goomy 50 in the beige colorway. Really creative names. And I really love how the yarn self-stripes. It has, you know, coral and beige and kind of cream stripes with speckles happening in between. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful colorway. And if I can get my hands on some more skeins of this, I definitely will, because I would love to knit a pair of mittens or who knows, something else with this yarn. So I might have to hunt down a couple of skeins. Really love this yarn. Highly recommend it if you can get your mitts on it. Pun totally intended. And yeah, another pair of socks for my sock drawer. Yay! And what else do I want to say about these? Yep, just 1x1 rib, cuff down, fish lips kiss heel, plain vanilla sock. And people have been asking me, I always get asked about my sock blockers. Number one, sock blockers are not mandatory. You do not need sock blockers if you knit socks. Honestly, I just have these because they make my finished hand knit socks look pretty on the podcast. It's just good for display and taking photos with, but I purchased these from the loopyu.com. They come in different sizes. I believe these are the size medium. But I will link to them below if you are curious about where to get these. But yeah, loopyu.com. Love them, love them. And I'm trying to think what else. These are not blocked. I didn't block these at all. So I got lazy. These are just gonna go straight on my feet, and Bob's your uncle. So new socks, yes. As for works in progress, I'm still making headway on my my latest knitting pattern design. This is the Giraffe Cowl, as I'm lovingly calling it, because it is colorwork knit in the round in this long, narrow tube, and it kind of reminds me of a cowl for a giraffe. Although the idea is that it's just going to be a really long tube that I can graft together at the end and loop around my neck twice. So technically it is a cowl, but for a human. But you know, hey, if you do decide to knit this and you have a pet giraffe or a friend giraffe, you know, just tangent. Anyway, yes, so again, this is just a long colorwork tube knit in the round. It's going to be reversible. It features traditional Scandinavian colorwork motifs, and yes, you know, again, I'm going to knit this as long as I can go, and then I'm going to graft the ends together, and it's just going to be a cowl that you can wear draping around your neck twice, and it can be reversible as well. So, you know, I think it's really fun. And you know, while this pattern does require some attention, you know, after I want to say like the 5th repeat, I kind of have the motif memorized in my head where I can just go around and eyeball it. So it is relatively intuitive, I want to say. And someone asked me if this will be a great pattern for a beginner or someone new to knitting colorwork, and I want to say I think it's perfect, because the motif chart is very short, that it is it's relatively intuitive, but then you just get so much practice in knitting the same motif over and over and over again, that I want to say when you're done knitting this, you're probably going to be a pro at knitting colorwork. So you definitely get lots of practice in, and each repeat is like very, very brief. So, you know, it's never boring, I want to say. And it's kind of like knitting self-striping socks. It's like just one more row, just one more row, just one more repeat, just one more repeat. The yarn that I'm using is my hand-dyed yarn, Voolenvine yarns, on my croquet base. And I call it croquet because croquet is the sport, and this is sport weight yarn. You see what I did there? Yeah. So, yeah, and the colorways that I'm using is my Courtesan colorway, which is this peachy coral pink, and then Dirty on Purpose, which is this variegated gray and brown speckled yarn in between, and I really love the way the hand dyed and these colors play together and, you know, work together. It's just, so cool. So anyway, I'm tooting my own horn shamelessly. Yeah. So, and I'm using, as I mentioned last week, I'm using shorties. I purchased two sets actually for my birthday. I treated myself to 2 sets of the Chiaogu shorties. One set, the red set, I believe is for sock knitting. Those have like the really small needle sizes, and then the blue set is from, I want to say, a US size 4 all the way up to a US size 8, I believe. So, you know, it's, again, unlike, what do you call it, those 9-inch circulars that some people use for knitting socks, that I honestly just can't. I've tried them. I've tried so hard to get into using those. I just can't. I can't. So, but these thankfully have a little bit of a longer cable, and the tips are longer as well, so it's, you know, it provides good stabilization for my this part of my hand where it rests on the needle when I'm working with it. So these are perfect for knitting in the round, you know, especially for sleeves or, you know, giraffe cowls, what have you. So yeah, I mean, that's all she wrote. All right, so that unfortunately is all I have to share with you for knitting this week. Again, I've just been working on that and sewing stuff, and, you know, working on my socks. I've been pretty monogamous. But, you know, that said, I'm gonna move along to sewing because I have quite a bit to share with you this week. Before we get into what's happening on Margot, who has kind of been sitting in the background these past couple of months, she now is having a moment to shine and be on the podcast. So welcome back, Margot. Goodness, Kristen. Before I get into what she's wearing, let's talk about what I'm wearing. This top is not handmade, but I did make some alterations to it. This is a top that I purchased from the fleas of, when I went to Paris, the fleas of Saint-Ouen. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I could be completely wrong, but anyway, those are the fleas of Paris. It's like a ginormous flea market full of, you know, so many wonderful things, antiques, and this unfortunately is not an antique. This is, I want to say, something that you could probably find at Urban Outfitters. I bought it at the flea market. It was a dress, kind of, not so much as a dress as it was a tunic, but I purchased it there for about, I want to say like $6 US. I could not resist. It just had this like Edwardian Victorian flair to it, so naturally it came home with me. And it was just like a tunic with a elastic waistband, and it flared out. It was long enough to wear over a pair of leggings, but to be totally honest, I wasn't getting much wear out of it because the tunic look wasn't working for me, and I really didn't like the elastic waistband. So the other night, I had the crazy idea to just cut off the elastic waistband from the bottom, hem the line, and now it's a top that I can wear when I go history bounding. So, yeah, and I will stand up so you can see what else I'm wearing. So, yes, you're not going to be able to see this at all because it's black, but I am wearing my Edwardian Modern Fantail skirt by Scroop Patterns. This is completely out of linen fabric. Basically, it's a modern version of an Edwardian walking skirt that comes right below my knee, and it has some pleats in the back that flare out. And yes, I don't wear this skirt as often either. Because it's linen, it wrinkles and collects lint like nobody's business. So I'm constantly like ironing it or lint brushing it. It's more work than I want to put in. But on top of my walking skirt, you're really not going to be able to see this, but I'll take it off so you can see. It's a Edwardian waist dip belt, if that makes sense. That's what the pattern's called. But it is made I sewed it out of velvet. And yeah, I will take it off so you can see what it looks like in all its glory. But here's what it looks like when I'm not wearing it. It's essentially just a velvet belt that I actually lined with I love how lining is like lingerie. Nobody knows it's there except you do. But this was some scrap fabric that I had left over from a coat that I sewed last year, which has not been getting anywhere. I'll talk about that at another time. But I had some satin, this really delicious mauve satin left over from the lining of that coat. This was completely hand stitched. I did not take this to the sewing machine at all, but this was so incredibly quick to whip up and really satisfying instant gratification project. And it goes with, you know, if you are into history bounding or, you know, historical garments, these are great accessories to kind of dress up any Edwardian walking skirt to your heart's content. And I want to say that hand stitching the lining to the main fabric was just so relaxing and fun. I just caught up on some podcasts, and yeah, it just, you know, the one thing I will say that I should have been more wary of is the sizing. I went for my natural waist size, which is a size 26, but in hindsight, I should have gone with the 27 since this is going to be going over what I'm wearing. So if I'm wearing a petticoat and a skirt, the 26 is not going to cut it. So I might, you know, have to, if I am going to wear a petticoat underneath a skirt like this, I think I'm going to have to make another one and size up just so I can, you know, make sure that this goes all the way around, which in this case, it barely just makes it, and it's not tight enough. It's not tight or anything, but it barely just makes it. You can definitely see a gap in the back if I'm wearing a contrasting colored skirt. But yeah, I really had fun making these. This is a pattern by Truly Victorian Patterns. It's their Edwardian dip waist belt, and it comes with 3 different styles. So there's the pointed belt, and then there's just a rounded bottom belt, and then there's a cross tie, so it comes around her waist and crosses over like that in the front. So lots and lots of options. Highly recommend it. Again, it was super quick to whip up. I maybe made this, say, you know, between cutting out the fabric and piecing it all together and hand stitching it all the way around, I want to say it maybe took me about 2.5 hours tops. And I just put some little hook and eye closures in the back. I don't know how well you're gonna see that. So not the neatest job ever, but it does the job, and it's secure, and you know, I love the way it looks around my waist. So you know. All right, elephant in the room. This is the petticoat that I've been working on all weekend. This is by Folkwear Patterns, Edwardian Underthings. Back in the day, they called these combinations because yes, you had a corset cover and a separate bottom. So yeah, I'm making the skirt, and I think this is turning out a little bit more complicated than I anticipated. I figured, oh, it's underwear, it'll just come together easily. Not the case. I will say that the instructions are incredibly thorough, but I don't know. I found them slightly confusing. It's very cool what they do. They give you little tidbits about the history of the garments, you know, how they were worn, how they were constructed, but the instructions themselves, I got very confused, especially when I got to the adding the placket to the back. So I'm going to turn this around. So as you can see, it's like very straight here. There's a drawstring going around the waistline, and then it's, you know, flat here and then stitched here to hold the drawstring in place, and then this is where the magic really happens. So you have the gathers all in the back because it creates that kind of bustle effect. So I use this twill tape as the drawstring, and yeah, the placket you can see here. It was a lot of trial and error before I finally figured out how the placket was supposed to be applied to the back of the petticoat, and even after all was said and done, I ended up stitching the wrong side of the placket to the wrong side of the skirt, and that falls on me because I'm definitely one of those people that cannot tell the difference between their right and left. I have to stop and think before I say go right or go left, or if I don't stop and think, when I say go right, I have to interrupt myself and say no, go left. So this is a thing. I know I'm not alone, unable to tell the difference between your right and left hand side. So when the pattern said apply the placket to the left side, I probably went ahead and applied it to the right side. So confusing. But I made it work. I just had to MacGyver some things around. It's not the most perfect application of a placket, but it does the job. It's in, and you know, again, this is just going to be gathered in, and you're not going to be able to see any sins of any kind. Fingers crossed. Now that all this is done, I can get on to the fun bit, which is the rustle, or the dust ruffle, or the gathers, where I get to work on, what is it, the pin tucks and insertion lace. I am so here for this. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but I'm excited to try it because I've never done pin tucks before. I've never done insertion lace. I can't wait to dig into that this weekend. And I did have to take a break because I realized that I did not have any bias tape for the waistband to create the drawstring channel. So I had to order some stuff from Amazon, as you do. I know the right thing to do, or the obvious thing to do, would be to create bias tape binding from scratch, and I was just not here for it. Am I kicking myself a little bit? Yes, because the pre-made bias binding tape is not the softest. It's a kind of like a cotton poly blend, I want to say, or it is a poly cotton blend, so it's a little stiffer. It's not as malleable, but it does the job. It's in there, and it works. So yeah, I still have a love-hate relationship with bias tape binding. So I cheated, so sue me. I got pre-made bias binding. I have been recording video footage of me making this, so I'm hoping I can compile it into a vlog of some kind, so you get to see the process behind the scenes of me making it. And I'm trying to think what else I want to say. I did employ some French seams on the inside, which make my heart sing so much. They're so tiny and wee and so pretty, and it's so worth it just putting that little extra something into your sewing. I'm so excited, you guys. I think I'm going to take a break, or I'm going to work on this on the weekend, but I'm also going to start another project going because I'm so inspired right now. Can you tell? So another pattern that caught my eye, and I've been on the prowl for a pattern like this for a long time. I know I said I was going to make the Rumana coat by Hand London. It's just a long, very simple coat that I was going to make, and I don't know, I tabled it for a while because I just didn't have the energy to tape or piece things together, so I let it sit. I have the fabric for it. It's beautiful fabric, just a merino cashmere blend, black coating, and then I have this really beautiful silk. It was an investment. I did treat myself. Liberty silk fabric for the lining. And yeah, I've just been sitting on it because I just feel that while I do like the pattern, it's not a hell yes for me. So, I just kind of let it sit, and then I stumbled on this pattern on Etsy by Black Snail Patterns. I'll pop a photo of it here so you can see it. And immediately when I saw it, it pretty much ticked all the boxes when I came to a coat pattern that I saw while watching Penny Dreadful that Vanessa Ives was wearing. It's just this corduroy Edwardian coat that's, I'll pop a photo of that here too so you know what I'm talking about. But this is like my dream coat that I've been wanting to make, and I just haven't been able to find the right pattern for it. But I saw this pattern, Edwardian coat by Black Snail Patterns, and I was like, yes, this has to happen. So while I do want to use that fabric for this pattern, of course I'm going to make a couple of mock-ups, and I do want to use some fabric that that just came into my life. I originally purchased this fabric. It's flannel. It's kind of got like a herringbone texture to it. I was going to make another Edwardian walking skirt out of this, but I don't know, something about it just wants to be a lining of some kind. And I did get some corduroy fabric because that's the one that Vanessa Ives is wearing in the photo. So I will show that to you. It's basic black corduroy fabric. So yeah, it's got like ribbing and everything. So I might use this and this together with the lining. I think that's gonna look really nice. So that's what I think will happen this weekend. It'll be a nice spring coat of some kind, but I love the puff sleeves. I just love the whole look of it and everything. I think I am going to lengthen it just a smidge so it comes down right below my knees so I can wear it with a modern Edwardian skirt. It's just gonna be so great. So more on that later. I do have to print out the pattern. That's hopefully not gonna be too taxing. It's only about like 40 pages. Anyway, yeah, so those are my sewing plans for the weekend. But as I mentioned, I am gonna be hosting a make-along, so whoever wants to join me in making all things Edwardian, Victorian, Regency, 1950s, again, the cutoff date is gonna be the 1950s. So anything before the 1950s, have at it. Yeah, so this should be a lot of fun. And again, it's going to be year-long make-along, so, honestly, it can be anything. It can be a garment, it can be an accessory, it can be what have you. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Anyway, I think that is it for sewing plans, what I've been making, the creative content of the episode. I am gonna move along to the blather segment, but before I move into life stuff, just a quick heads up about my shop update. As always, I have updates every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and you can always sign up for the newsletter by going to my online shop, voolenvineyarns.com, clicking on the newsletter link, entering your info, and every week I send out a newsletter letting you know what bases and colorways to expect, and also to give you a heads up that I am also having opening signups for my latest yarn club, the Gothic Yarn Club 2. So this is the second round of Gothic inspired colorways. It's going to be 3 installments of 3 completely unique, strange brew colorways, one of a kinds that may or may not become shop regulars at some point. So again, spots are limited. Head on over to my online shop for all the details. And yeah, so those signups will be opening Monday, Monday, March 2nd at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So I hope you guys can make it and are excited for it. Again, spots are very limited. So if you don't see any spots available, that's it. I apologize. And of course I will be having more yarn clubs in the future if you do miss out for another opportunity for that. So anyway, that said, I am gonna move along to the blather where I chat about what's been happening in my life, should you care to stick around. All right, life stuff. Aside from falling down the Edwardian making rabbit hole that I have fallen so deeply down, I started watching Outlander season 5, and I'm still working my way through episode 1. There's just not enough hours in the day. Like, after I'm done working, I go up to my craft room, pull out my knitting, and start watching it. And then, sure enough, Dennis comes home and I can't finish watching it. I'm sure if I really wanted him to watch it with me, he would watch it with me, but he's just not that into it. So that's Kristen TV for you. That's what I've been watching on my own. And speaking of Outlander, because my in-laws are on the same wavelength as I am. Hi, Carol. Hi, Ron. I know you guys are watching. For my birthday, they gifted me Highland knits. Highland knits. Knitwear inspired by the Outlander series. I love it so much. So cool. I mean, just so many beautiful patterns in here. The photography is stunning. That was the Rent collection shawl. So many references. Oh, I love these gauntlets. The Herb Garden gauntlets. I think I might have to cast these on at some point. Oh, so pretty. A lot of chunky knits in here too, I want to say. Yeah, the Boar Hunt capelet. Oh, it's so pretty. I love the back too. Yeah, look at the back. How cool is that? Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. So yeah, lots and lots of fun ideas in here, and completely appropriate for our history make-along. So if you can, get your mitts on a copy of this because it is so cool. So thank you, Carol and Ron. I really, really love it and cannot wait to cast something on from here. The other thing that I've been thinking about lately is carving out a nook for myself where I can take photos of my finished objects. Right now I have a backdrop that I set up. I like it. It's very moody, but there's something about it that it gets old after a while, I feel like. There's just nothing of interest in the background, and I kind of want to, again, carve out a nook for myself somewhere around my house where I can set up, where it just looks, like a lived-in space or something, with decorations, photos on the wall, who knows? But yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about. You see a lot of, sewing bloggers or fashion bloggers, and they're just taking photos around their house. I don't have an area like that. Our house is decorated, but the light is not that great. We have one of those, it's a long house. It's like one of those railroad houses where there's only light on either side of the house. So we don't get much, unfortunately, not except for my craft room, which I feel like gets the best sunlight. We don't really have the best lighting in the house, or natural lighting in the house, I should say. So I'm looking at a wall over here, which has my, it's an armoire, but it has all my books, my sewing and knitting books in it. I might find another place for that yeah, just in a spirit of just kind of creating a little area or space for myself, you know, to set up a little photo shoot area, if that makes any sense. So I don't know. The wheels are turning. So, you know, project photo nook TBD. You know, I'll keep you posted on that. So I think I'm gonna wrap things up here. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this episode and you're new to the channel, please feel free to like and subscribe below. I put out a new episode every Friday for your viewing pleasure. And until then, happy knitting, happy sewing, happy making, and I'll see you next time. Bye!